Officials in Venice had only just installed the tourist checkpoints overnight, in a bid to control the flow of tourists ahead of a long bank holiday weekend. However, the checkpoints have not lasted long as furious Venetian residents tore the barriers down and chanted against the city's politicians and the unprecedented influx of tourists. Shocking footage from the protest showed dozens of locals removing the checkpoints, which the Venice mayor Luigi Brugnaro claimed were intended to make the city more livable for the residents. One protester said, "It's not the mayor who owns the city. It's not the police and not the tourists either. It's the people living in Venice. We refuse the idea of having checkpoints to get into the city. We own our city. Venice is dying. The mayor putting in the turnstiles is demonstrating that he is giving up. He wants Venice to become a city with no inhabitants." The historic city center had put the checkpoints in place ahead of the bank holiday weekend in high transit areas such as the Constitution Bridge and the train station. Only residents and frequent visitors who possess a Carta Venezia were allowed along the main routes to reach the city's main hot spots, while tourists had to take less direct routes. Tensions with tourists in Venice had reached boiling point last year when up to 60,000 visitors arrived in the city every day, compared to the local 55,000 population. Getting furious Venetian residents tore the checkpoints down and chanted against the city's politicians. Shocking footage from the protest showed dozens of locals removing the checkpoints. The historic city center had put the segregation checkpoints in place ahead of the bank holiday. We refuse the idea of having checkpoints to get into the city. We own our city. A protester footage of the demonstration shows activists chanting, "Free Venice," as they attacked the short-lived barriers. Tommaso Cacciari, a local activist who led the city's anti-cruise ship protests, said the barriers were not the answer to the tourist crisis. He said, "We don't need checkpoints, we need effective housing policies. Venice is not a theme park." One banner at the rally stated, "Venice is not a reservation, we are on the way to extinction." The authorities sought to play down the protests, with the chief of police Marco Agostini saying, "We will put it back together as soon as possible."